All right, click the links, join the channel here over at Subscribestar. Get a mailbox if you want to mail me some comics or perhaps some festive Christmas gloves or something. So Rob Reiner and Christian leaders, press F to doubt about Christian leaders, probe the danger of Christian nationalism in God and country. So the Mary Sue, one of my favorite writers from Mary Sue. I mean, most of the writers of the Mary Sue, they just need to get married and have kids and give up this kind of nonsense. So the Mary Sue explains that Reiner's, I mean, because there's kind of like an angry energy that the single woman has, that Leishman kind of has a lot of it, where they're trying to be cute and quirky. It's like, you just need to have kids and settle you down. So the Mary Sue explains that Reiner's movie is in this just long straw man after straw man article, because I mean that's pretty much every article in the Mary Sue, because who's going to hold the Mary Sue accountable? Every media source is like this. It's all just left-wing propaganda. And I mean that's the digital media, which roughly started about 1995, that has absolutely destroyed the concept of all media, because then print media had to go online and it had to compete for clickbaits. And suddenly they were getting less revenue with the print media, and they had to segue over, and they realized, like, oh, we have to compete with like small independent people, which is why the media hates, all these kind of small voices, and they did that with clickbait titles. So it's like the media is not the media anymore. There is no mainstream media. Yeah, the media was always left wing, but a few decades ago, at least they tried to show some of the other side. Anyway, so Reiner is the guy who did Spinal Tap, which, gotta admit, he did a great job on. Fun movie and music. But he got older and fatter, and I guess his ego grew, and probably Trump derangement syndrome. I did Stand By Me. Trump derangement syndrome had something to do with that, and with a lot of these kind of idiots. And he hates Christians and European people, of course, to the extent he's making a movie about how scared he is about Christianity. And of course his movie is nonsense and the Mary Sue is absolute nonsense, but what their narrative is telling you is what they're scared of, which is what we obviously need to focus on. Even if you don't like the idea of Christian nationalism yourself, the fact that they're making movies about it means that it is a tool against the globalists. So you might just consider getting on board with it, like, just to trigger them. Yeah, pretty much. So Reiner holds himself out as an expert on Christianity, which is weird, because if he prayed to Christ, he would ignite in flames. He prays to Moloch, obviously. So what these globalists do is they strawman everything. They're very shy about giving examples and pointing to sources. Everything is feelings-based, and it uses a bunch of soft Marxist phrasing. But the fun thing is, we can also just jump right into feeling-based language, even if it's to trigger these globalist parasites, that we feel it's time for Christian nationalism. Even if you haven't been in a church in years, except for Christmas and Easter, where they go, it's the individual's belief, okay, so this is their strawman version of Christian nationalism, embraced by the far right. It's like the far right's everyone who doesn't want to mutilate children, I guess. They believe the U.S. should be a Christian state. Okay, well, I mean, I'm sure most religions believe that they wanted to be in charge, and it's like, that's the point of a democracy, right? The left wing uses that word democracy for a reason. And then in this article, oddly enough, Reiner switches to constitutional republic, because this is where he doesn't want the voice of the people. He doesn't want a democracy. But if the people want a Christian nation, that's Constitution's just a piece of paper, right, Reiner? It's like suddenly, is it a living, breathing document? No, not so much anymore. It's like, there's really no living with globalists. So they, instead of maintaining separation of church and state, you guys want to get rid of the Second Amendment. I'm sure they can. So the right wing wants to adjust the First Amendment. I mean, once you're opening the door to this kind of thing, everything's on the table. So the Mary Sue says that this is a movie that will appeal to Christians, and let me stop you right there, Rachel. No, absolutely not. It will appeal to these queef-sniffing, wine-drinking San Francisco Bolsheviks in their Teslas, which they claim to hate, who circle jerk each other on how much they appreciate art. Well, we do not appreciate these people at all. She says that Christian nationalism promotes Islamophobicism and anti-immigration, which, based, if true, it's their right to do so. They can feel any way they want. And if they want to organize a political party, it's like you really can't do anything about it. Nowhere in the article does the Mary Sue say why they feel nationalism is a bad thing. It sounds like a path forward out of this filthy degeneracy of where we are now, which is mutilating kids and open borders, and I mean, just pretty much peak Sodom and Gomorrah, you know what I'm saying there. So Reiner ignores the globalist riots of the past few years. I was going to say the past 3 years, but really it went all the way back to Obama for whatever reason. And it focuses on the tiny right-wing peaceful protests because he himself is a globalist parasite. He wants the destruction of this nation and the West in general. Everything he accuses the right of doing is what his side is doing, except that he says that the Christianity is Christian nationalism is not about Christianity. How exactly would he know? He's the Antichrist. He hates Christians, or he's a tool of the Antichrist. He hates Christians and Christianity. So why would we listen to a tool of the Antichrist lecture us on any religion whatsoever, other than whatever you call his worship of Moloch and probably drinking blood? He says it's used to gain power, but that's what everyone does. But it's also what the left is doing with open borders and globalism. It's just a tool for them to gain power and to destroy nations. He says he's worried about authoritarianism, except when I ask globalists if they support free speech, they openly say no, or they dodge the question. The left wants to take away free speech now, but they claim the right wants to take away free speech in the future, except the right supports free speech much more so than the left. Don't get me wrong, there's occasionally you're going to find some people on the right who are not, but it is free speech is much more a right-wing issue. With support, even among the far right. So I have to support the side that supports free speech and liberty of the individual, which is going to be the right and the far right, and the left doesn't do that. I mean, when you hear far right, most people have the straw man version, which is what the left told you about what the right is. That's the left straw man version. It's not what people actually feel. And when you talk to people, and the thing is, talking to people on the right is easier because they'll talk to you without blocking you. The left doesn't do that. They just block and move on. They need to stay in their echo chamber. So when you talk to people on the quote unquote, dreaded scare quotes far right, you find that it's mostly pretty reasonable things, like not giving kids hormones or whatnot. And the thing is, to be honest, the left mostly looks like Rob Reiner. It's just these 300-pound Epstein Island types who are pushing all sorts of degeneracy, where at least the right has fashion sense. The left doesn't really have any brakes on their train. It doesn't matter if it's deleting babies or giving kids puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and literally sterilizing them, or there's nothing on the left that says, oh, we need to stop this. And you go, why would you stop this? Because they don't have a religion other than Bolshevism. Their religion is anti-Islamophobicism and how much they hate European people, but they don't have any morals they can point to, or any ethics or any religious dogma. It's just globalism. So whatever destroys the West is their religious belief. So the synopsis is from some idiot directors and producers. The movie God and Country looks at the implications of Christian nationalism based and how it distorts not only our constitutional republic. See, it's not a democracy anymore, because they don't want the democracy anymore. They want to tie you to the rules when they want to tie you to the rules, and then they want to go outside the rules when they need to. This is not Constitutional Republic of Christianity itself. Again, how would Reiner know anything about Christianity? Featuring prominent Christian thought leaders. God and Country. They're not Christian thought leaders if they don't support Christian values. What happens when a faith built on love, sacrifice, and forgiveness grows? I bet that hurt Reiner to write. Grows political tentacles, conflating. Jesus. Don't say anything in the comments. Power, money, and belief into hyper-nationalism. Wow, Reiner. Talk about projection there. Holy cow. Unsurprisingly, the response to social media to Reiner's strawman movie, Reiner the Antichrist, on his Twitter posts Criticize him for tackling this concept as a non-Christian. You're just going to leave it there, Rachel Utalowski. As well as push the misconception the document is anti-Christian. Of course it is. Anyone who listens figures the blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing. She talks about, there's something about, she goes, and Christians are not under threat. Now, this is where, objectively, she's wrong. Christians are the most persecuted people on earth. That's not just me saying that. You can look up, I don't know, one of those United Nations organizations talk about the persecutions of people on earth, and Christians are the most marginalized and oppressed people on earth. And it's not a popular fact for the left wing. The thing is, a lot of the left wing don't even know this, because the left wing is a very sociopathic, and they don't have empathy or sympathy. And they really don't understand. They cannot build an image of right-wing thought and tell you how a right-winger will think, where a right-winger can tell you how a right-winger and a left-winger thinks. And in like the left, they project this thing about this intolerance, and you look at the left and like, you're the most intolerant people on earth because you can't understand what the right believes, because you've never tried to understand it. Where the right has grown up in a left-wing echo chamber and they've broken out from it. That's why I say we're on the right track, because we're over target. We're the ones who get kicked off social media, lose our bank accounts, our payment processors, all that kind of stuff, just for being slightly on the right. You lose your coffee account or your PayPal and your Patreon, all that kind of stuff. Ask me how I know that. But I am on Subscribestar. Thanks to Subscribestar. That's very nice. And Mr. Nature for support through the mail. Very cool. Anyway, yeah. Who's going to see this? I hope this says it's going to open in a couple months. I hope by that he means it's going to open to a very select art house type of theater, not a general opening, because you're just asking for an echo chamber to come see your movie. Christians are not going to see your movie. Nobody on the right is going to see your movie. And honestly, a lot of people on the left won't see this kind of movie either, because it's just so much of an echo chamber circle jerk. That they don't really, like, a lot of times they make these movies and they think, oh, the right wing really needs to see this. And it's like, yeah, but they're not going to. So, I don't know. I mean, the last left wing movie that really hit big was, relatively speaking, it was an art house movie too, was probably Al Gore's movie back in the 90s, whatever that was called. An Inconvenient Truth. He's like, all these left-wing leaders, they live on oceanfront property, and they're talking about rising sea levels, and you look at all their homes, and it's funny because Al Gore lives in a mansion. The carbon footprint is like the equivalent of 10 homes, and somebody pointed out to him, and he goes, and he knew it. He's like, yeah, it's a home office. So it's, yeah, but the carbon footprint, you've got heating and cooling, and do you really need to live at this level? It's like, well, yes, because I'm one of the Ubermensch, and you people are all the cattle debt slaves. They really believe this. These are the worst people on earth. So no, we're not going to be taking Christian advice from the Antichrist, Rob Reiner, who, if he went to church and tried to pray to Jesus, I think he literally would be struck by lightning. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys all next episode.